In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to create 3 different fondant bows, really super simple. The first one will be this bow here, and just follow along. You just have to roll out your desired color fondant to your desired thickness. And I'm using my ruler so that way I can keep all my lines straight, and every loop will be the same length and size. Again, you can make this as wide or thick as you want. I chose to make these loops to be, I believe, about 3 inches long. So you take the end of each loop and you pinch them together. I'm not using any water to adhere. My fondant's pretty soft, but if you need to use water, go right ahead. So I'm just pinching all the ends of each loop together. So there's just 4 loops for this particular bow. And then I'm taking those 2 ends and attaching them. Again, if you need to use some water to adhere it, go ahead and use the water. My fondant was pretty soft, so it all just stuck together on its own. Now when attaching all of it together, I will be using water, or you can use any other edible type of adhesive, such as piping gel. Sometimes water mixed with Tylose can act as a glue as well. So I'm just adding them all together in this cross type of shape. Plus sign. I don't really know. It's not, a bow at the left to the right and up and down type of shape. So this is the one of the Wilton molds that I'm using here just for the center. You don't have to use this particular mold. You can use any mold you want. Again, like I said, making these bows are really super simple, and it's just showing you a way that you can make different type of bows to attach to your cakes or cupcakes or toppers or whatnot, whatever you're making. So I attached my center mold to the bow, and now I'm going to go back and grab some parchment paper. I'm trying to plump up each of the loops, so I'm going to grab some parchment paper and roll it up so that way my loops don't fall onto themselves and get attached to themselves. And by using parchment paper, this way your bow can dry in place, and then when you want to attach any one of these bows to your cake, just go ahead and use some royal icing or some buttercream, or even maybe some water. Sometimes you just need something strong enough if it's too heavy of a topper. And then just set it aside to dry. If you like any of my tutorials here on my YouTube channel, then you're going to want to definitely sign up for my Patreon. I have elite tutorials that you get every month. Go right ahead and sign up. Click the link above. Moving along to the second bow, which is a bow that everybody recognizes. This one again is super simple. You want to start off with 2 strands that are about the same width and thickness, and I put 1 strand aside, and now I just cut this one in half for it to be the legs of the bow. We're just going to make up our own names for this, okay? But go right ahead and just follow along. And once I cut the legs of the bow of the length that I want, I'm going to go ahead and put this triangle shape cut out in the ends of it. And I just want to make sure those 2 matched. And then now I grabbed the extra one that I had, and those will be my loops. So you want to make sure your loops are about the same length, and we're going to pinch the sides again, pinch the ends again, and just adhere them to themselves. If you need to add some water, go right ahead and add some water. And like I showed you in the first bow, I'm using parchment paper to make sure that the fondant doesn't stick to itself and that my loop maintains its loopiness. Go ahead and pinch the ends of both of the loops and adhere them and add your parchment paper. And then you're going to want to go ahead and get another piece of fondant and cut for your center to cover up that connection between the loops. To adhere it all together, I'm using just a little bit of amount of water. Adhere the legs together, and I went ahead and added the loops first, but I'm going to go back and actually take those off and make sure I put the center over both the loops, and then go back and adding that loops in the center to the legs. You'll see here, I'm just cutting down my center because I feel like it's too wide for what I want it to look like. So yeah, you see here I just detached the loops from the legs and went back and added the center first. Don't make the same mistake I made because it's better if you do the loops first, the center, and then attach to the legs. I know, it sounds so complicated, but it really is just a simple bow. Go ahead and play around with it as much as you need to. And if you need to add any luster dust or whatnot, make sure your parchment paper's in it and set aside to dry. Now bow number 3, which I actually really liked making this bow, and believe it or not, this was my first time ever making a bow with this many loops. So that's how simple it was. It was my first time. The amount of loops you want to make, and you want to make sure that they're all the same length and thickness. I believe these were probably about 3 inches to 2.5 inches long. Again, you can play around with how long you want them. I've seen them longer and skinnier. I have the first row is going to have, I believe, 6 loops. And I went just and pinched the ends of them, put parchment paper in the middle, like I did normally with all the other bows. And then I made my center. My center is just a little more shorter in length than the rest of the loops. I did not pinch the bottom tips of this center part. I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of my pieces together using water. And you're going to want to watch closely because the pattern in which I laid them all is how you kind of get this effect of this, like, you know, birthday bow you put on a gift. So you put 2 together, and then on one side you put another 2 in an angle, and then on the other side you put another 2 in the same angle, just opposite, as you can see here. So this started with 4, and then I'm going to add another 2. Make sure your parchment paper is not in the way. My parchment paper was totally in the way. And a little bit of water goes a long way. You don't want to put so much water because you don't want like a gooky, watery mess, because you're going to be overlaying these bows. Now you can wait till each loop completely dries if you want to. I didn't. I went ahead and just added the bows. If they completely dry, you're going to want to use some sort of like piping gel or royal icing to adhere it all. Now the second layer, as you can see, I'm assembling each loop to make sure it's in the center of 2 previous loops. And I believe there's only 4 for the second layer. What I recommend is you go in even numbers. So if you decide to put 12 loops for the first layer, then maybe the next layer will be only 10 loops. And from the 10 loops, 8 loops. You see what I'm saying? So just each layer always an even number. And then the very top is going to just be that one little loop. And boom, you're done. That's how simple this is. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this tutorial, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions for any future tutorials, go ahead and put a comment down below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, yes_ma'am_sweet, so you can see what I'm up to. And sign up for my elite tutorials on Patreon. You don't want to miss out.